Welcome back everyone, Oz here, and today I've got some r/AmIOverReacting for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do so down below in the comments. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Starcaller26, am I overreacting for demanding we rehome the pet that was purchased while I was away for the weekend? This past weekend, myself, 30s male, and my son, grade school aged, were away at a camping trip. While we were gone, my wife, same age, and daughter, also grade school aged, younger than my son, went to the pet store and ended up purchasing a bunny. I am now demanding that the bunny be rehomed. I think a new pet is something the entire family should agree on, and that it was really shitty of my wife to do this. My wife and daughter are already very attached to the bunny and don't want it to leave. Am I overreacting, or am I justified to demand the pet be returned? Additional context is that we already have 3 guinea pigs and a hamster. The hamster was purchased under similar circumstances. I went to the office for the first time since COVID, and while gone for the day, my wife bought the hamster without talking about it at all. I was really mad back then, but moved on. The hamster is now likely to pass soon, as it's been sick for some time. I'm not involved at all in the pet care or cleaning. My wife does it all. So, from her perspective, I'm not impacted at all. The guinea pigs are free-ranged, and we basically have an entire room on the main floor of our 1,800 square foot house that is dedicated to the guinea pigs and hamster. My wife is now talking about divorce since we don't want the same things, which I think is bullshit because we do want the same things, I just don't want any more pets right now, and I especially want a say in the matter. I let it slide once with the hamster and now I regret that. From her perspective, it will always be a no from me. So, if she's asking for a divorce, it's not about the bunny, there is a lot more at play going on here. If she is threatening divorce over just the bunny, then that is absolutely absurd, and I would recommend calling her on her bluff, but I do think there probably is a lot more going on behind the scenes in this marriage if she's that willing to jump ship. That besides the fact the wife is going for the ask for forgiveness rather than permission, especially when it comes to buying a pet, which is a long-term commitment, especially because rabbits are not an easy animal, they require a lot of maintenance. That is concerning, to say the least. And if a divorce is on the table, you bet your ass your wife is currently trying to turn your daughter against you by painting you as the father that just wants to rehome all the pets and is mean and angry, and it's your mean old dad just wants to get rid of that bunny. Also, the fuck you mean you have free-range guinea pigs? So, in the process of Googling what a free-range guinea pig is, my apologies for not understanding the fact that people do create enclosures in their backyard for guinea pigs. Pretty cute, not gonna lie, but not my cup of tea. I stumbled upon the fact that rabbits and guinea pigs should not be together because they have cross-contaminating diseases that can be very dangerous towards each other, plus they don't get along very well. So, I get the impression the wife just went to the pet store and bought the bunny and did no research as to what care and requirements need to be done for that, which tells me that bunny is probably going to be pretty miserable, and it's probably going to be something where the novelty of having a bunny is going to be fun for a little bit, but when that wears off, that rabbit's going to be a pain in the ass that can't interact with the guinea pigs because of other problems. This also creates a problem where now the husband can't reliably leave the house without worrying about his wife making an impulse purchase for the daughter, so oh boy. Either therapy or, honestly, call her on her bluff for a divorce if I'm gonna be honest with you. Because her threatening a divorce over a rabbit is fucking wild. Especially because the long-term ramifications that can cause for a child. Now, for me, real quick, I don't know if I've said this in a previous video, my parents divorced when I was 4. I am very well aware of the long-term ramifications that can happen to a child after divorce. And I honestly find it pretty insulting that she's willing just to throw that around as a threat when dealing with a bunny being rehomed. Satisfaction Neat, 7273. Am I overreacting? I think my husband might be framing my 8-year-old son. I have an 8-year-old son who was in a terrible accident 3 years ago that landed him in a 2-week coma, required multiple surgeries on his cracked skull, and in which he suffered from a traumatic brain injury. Miraculously, he walked away mostly okay, aside from some severe scarring, blindness in one eye, and kind of terrible short-term memory loss. While his memory has improved, he still forgets a lot. Not anything significant, but things like constantly forgetting things I ask him to do, not remembering what he ate for breakfast, and things of that nature. The worst thing, though, is that he loses and misplaces everything. It can be quite frustrating, but I try to give him a lot of grace knowing his situation. A year and a half ago, he got an iPhone for Christmas, and within 3 months it was lost. He swore up and down that he last had it on our couch and that somebody had to have hid it from him. Year and a half ago? You got a 6.5-year-old an iPhone for Christmas? Holy shit. After questioning the one other kid in the house, I came to the conclusion that no one hid it from him, and he must have lost it and just not remembered where he had it last, despite his confidence that he had it on the couch. For months, I would spend every free weekend tearing my house apart and deep cleaning in hopes that it would turn up, but it never did, so I just gave up and considered it a loss. I blame myself because he clearly was not ready for that responsibility. About a year later, I ended up winning an iPad at work, and with my son being the only person in the house without a phone, the iPad unofficially became his. After about a month, you guessed it, he lost it. He again swore up and down that someone is messing with him and taking his things and hiding them. Again, I really just blame myself. About 3 months later, I was putting away some laundry and was tired of my husband's t-shirt drawer being a jumbled mess, so I pulled everything out to reorganize, and lo and behold, my iPad was sitting in the bottom of the drawer. I asked my husband about it, and he seemed really confused about how it got in there and insisted he didn't put it there. Knowing that my son struggles with impulsive behavior from his accident in ADHD, I just assumed my son put it in the drawer, possibly to hide it from his brother, and then forgot about it. Which brings me to tonight. I just went out to my husband's car to look for something in his trunk, which took me a bit as it's a complete mess of papers, grocery bags, shoes, gym stuff, water bottles, coffee mugs, returns that never got returned, etc. And as I was rummaging through the mess, I found my son's iPhone that had been missing for almost 2 years. This time, I know there is absolutely no chance that my son put it in there because he is rarely ever in his car, and absolutely no one ever goes in that trunk except for my husband. Now it's 1 a.m. and my husband is snoring away, and I can't sleep wondering if he was hiding these things on purpose and my son was right the whole time. But what would be his motive for doing this? Or does he just have terrible memory and not remember doing this? He can be forgetful, but this is a little much. For added context, my son is my husband's stepson, if it matters. I, of course, will talk to him in the morning about it, but I can't stop thinking about it. What are your thoughts? Am I overreacting? Edit, it's now the next morning, but my husband left the gym before I woke up, so I haven't spoken to him about it yet. I didn't expect this much engagement and have not had a chance to read everyone's comments, but based on what a lot of people were commenting or asking last night, maybe posting it here would be helpful since I responded to a few comments and maybe got lost in the shuffle. Both times that I found the devices, they appeared to be completely unused. They were both dead, which is why Find My iPhone wouldn't work. And once I got the iPad on, search history, etc. was all that of my son's. The phone immediately had the alert on screen stating it was a lost device and to call my number as I marked it as lost after it went missing. Additionally, I would be amazed if he knew the password to either of these devices. He doesn't monitor that sort of thing with any of the kids and wasn't involved in the setup of these devices or anything. He's pretty lax about that stuff. Or so it would seem. The following I am adding, not because I'm defending him or making excuses, but because it will provide some additional context as to why I'm even posting about it, seeking outside opinions rather than just immediately knowing that he took the devices intentionally or maliciously. Both times the devices were lost, my husband never once got mad at my son for losing them. I never once got mad at him for losing them. I even mentioned a couple times that I blamed myself. My husband never got mad at me or made any comments about how my son wasn't ready for the responsibility, etc. The only commentary he ever had was, well, he knows if he lost it, he doesn't get another one, right? This is the general exception we gave to all of our kids. Take care of your phone, if you lose it or break it, that's it. Additionally, my husband is the one that bought him the phone and he continued to pay for the line all this time. Never canceled the service. Huh. He also never likes to blame stuff on my son's injury and says things all the time along the lines of, even with his accident, he's smarter than most kids I've met, more athletic, etc., and thinks I use it as a crutch too often and don't give my son enough credit for how far he's come. So it's not like he was blaming the lost devices on my son's traumatic brain injury. Last bit of info. Some people commented about how there is no way he could have forgotten the phone was in the trunk as men go in there all the time. This may be the case with most men, but if it wasn't made clear enough, his trunk is a dumping ground for the messes that accumulated in his car that he moves to the trunk and never deals with again. For example, one of the things I found in there was a framed photo of his kids that said, Happy Father's Day 2023. so it's been in there for over a year. Also, I found the phone under a bunch of junk, so it's not like it was staring up at him every time he opened the trunk. So, with all that being said, hopefully now it's more clear as to why I'm genuinely confused as to what the hell his motive would be if he did take them intentionally or maliciously. What would he get out of it? Do you all think there is any chance that his ADHD is so bad that he took them for whatever reason and genuinely forgot? This is why I was wondering if I was overreacting. Thank you all for the comments, insight, and thoughts. Dude, I got no fucking idea. I'm gonna be honest. I got no idea. Like, he continued to pay the bill for the phone bill for all those years, despite the fact that, I mean, it was lost, so it's not like he just, I don't know. This is weird. You just gotta have a conversation with your husband about it, because this is, like, bizarre. The only thing I can honestly say would be confront your husband about it and possibly maybe family therapy, but, like, this is just weird. I'd be very curious to kind of know what y'all are thinking, because there's definitely some red flags here, but I can't tell if this is just something where it's just a very simple misunderstanding, or if there's like a really massive red flag going on here that, you know, could have implications of larger forms of abuse going on. And I'm gonna kind of just take a step back and see what y'all have to say about it. Pages of the Void. Am I overreacting for dumping my partner's family because they think I'm a dud? My partner, female 27, and I, male 29, have been dating for about 4 years. I'm a lawyer, and she works in tech. We live together. I lost my job this spring, and I am qualified for unemployment benefits. I'm also lucky to have an emergency fund and no debt. My partner's job is great, and she makes plenty of money. This period of unemployment was good for me. With more time and energy to reflect, I admitted to myself that I have been depressed for over a year. I also realized that law firm litigation is not the right path for me. So, for the first 3 months after losing my job, I focused on healing myself and rethinking my career direction. I went to therapy, resumed exercise, reduced my alcohol consumption, began prescription medication, kept a clean house, played with my dog, improved relationships, enjoyed outdoor hobbies, read challenging books, did pro bono work, and met many people to chat about different career paths. I applied to 100 or so jobs and interviewed for a few, but it wasn't all that important to me. I also played a lot of video games during this time, often until the wee hours of the morning. I mostly played alone and sometimes enjoyed cannabis. On occasion, I played multiplayer games with my partner's sister, who doesn't have many friends right now in her new city. My mental health had improved greatly, probably due to exercise and not video games, and I've been in a full-time white-knuckled job hunt for the past 2 months. I'm getting more interviews, and hopefully something will pan out soon. I'm supporting myself without issue in the meantime, and I still cover 50% of our living costs. Yesterday, I overheard my partner having a passionate conversation with her mother on the phone. I realized that she was defending someone and accusing her mother of projecting, but I didn't want to listen in. A few minutes later, the call ended, and she left the room with a sullen face. I asked her about the conversation. She explained that her mother says the entire family has soured on her relationship with me and are concerned about her. They know I've been unemployed for 5 months. They know, as Sister A confirmed, that I'm playing video games most nights and sometimes during the day, and that I use cannabis. As such, they don't think that I'm sufficiently focused on my career, and our relationship is doomed as a result. Then, last night, my partner received texts from her sisters. The texts were similar in tone and content, advising that she leave and offering their support. The texts read as if I'm mildly abusive, indicating that I'm manipulating her to stay with me while I fail out of my career. This caught me completely off guard. My partner's family seemed to really like me. Both her siblings have stayed with us. I went to Sister B's wedding and have had quite a few positive social experiences hanging out with my partner and Sister A. The parents wanted us to go on a trip with them, which I abstained from because I had to work. How did their opinion of me become so negative so quickly after a single career setback? They know my partner isn't paying for me, and my work ethic is fine, and my background is more a hard-working underdog story than most, and I'm healthy and motivated again. I'm not an abuser either. I'm a gentle person who would totally be supportive of my partner if she wanted to leave me. And above all, my partner is an intelligent adult who knows her needs much better than they do. She can make her own decisions. I told my partner today that I don't want to interact with her immediate family anymore, unless doing so is necessary for some important reason. She understood, but was upset. Am I overreacting? I mean, we all gossip, I guess. I may also be overly sensitive to the relative socioeconomic class disparity between my partner's family and mine. and projecting some of the resentment I feel for how I've been treated in other situations by more privileged people. Hey, thanks guys, I had fun with this, but I'm going to be off for a bit. I've got to find a job. What probably did you in was the sister and playing video games with her, as she probably had the impression that you were only playing video games and only smoking weed, and then told the family that you're only playing video games and only smoking weed and not looking for any kind of career path, and the parents see it as, oh shit, my daughter's dating a deadbeat, we gotta do something about that. So I don't think it's the family, I think it's just that sister, if I'm gonna be honest with you. In my personal opinion, congratulations on working on yourself and putting yourself forward and actually finding out what's, been holding you back and how to improve your life. That is an important part of growing and finding peace with yourself, and good for you. But I think the cause of this is not her family. I do really think it is just that one sister that probably just twisted things to hell and back and probably labeled things in a really negative light, and, it just escalated and spiraled from there. 1prompt7701. Am I overreacting for no longer wanting a relationship with my stepdaughter after she lied to the police and tried to put felony charges on me? I, 33 female, have informed my husband, 34 male, that I no longer want a relationship with his daughter, 17 female, and she should be facing serious consequences for her actions. My husband's daughter has learned to navigate life via manipulation because of how she watched her parents go through a bitter and messy custody parenting situation the last 17 years. She's always been treated, by me at least, as if I birthed her myself for the last 10 years. When she became a teenager, she used lies and manipulation to get her way. Anytime she wants to leave a household, she cries abuse from the adults in the house. She's accused her birth mother of physical and verbal abuse, and my husband of the same. In 2023, she told police my husband punched her, and the bruise on her neck was from him abusing her. We had CPS and the cops at her home who discovered that bruise was a Hygh from the boyfriend she wasn't allowed to be alone with. She got caught skipping school and track practice to be at this boy's house. She didn't appreciate being told no and not being able to smoke weed and do what she wants. Fast forward to June 2024. She's in trouble yet again for skipping class to the point of in-school suspensions. She's grounded, of course, and failed classes. She just failed 10th grade at 17 years old because she cares more about shaking ass, smoking, and being in the streets and social media. Last day of school, she lied to me and I caught her in the lie, and she was being dismissive and disrespectful, so I took her school-issued laptop away since school was out. I took the laptop and told her I'd do everything for her, and to lie to me and be disrespectful is not allowed or okay. I walked out of the room and went to put my newborn to sleep. She storms out of the home and I let her, thinking she was blowing off steam, walking outside until I go to walk outside and police are walking to my door. I immediately knew that she had brought them there. They ask for my name, hands on their guns. I say yes, I am her. I'm holding the baby and my phone and I tell them I'm no threat. They inform me my stepdaughter went to the nearby store saying I was repeatedly beating her with the laptop on her head. They said she couldn't show them a bruise because it was in her scalp and she has a lot of thick hair. We're black, FYI. I screamed for my husband to come to the door and tell him his child lied and called the police on me. Long story short, I have cameras in the home and I was able to show the police I never once touched her. I took the laptop and calmly told her how disappointed I was of her and walked away. They were shocked at how calm my tone was and body language, as it was not how she described it. They brought her back since she lied about everything. I told my husband she can't live here anymore. I have 4 other kids who I am the primary parent and financial provider for, and she tried to take all of that away. Come to find out, when searching her laptop, she was Google searching how to put my parents in jail for abuse. 2 weeks prior to this incident, the worker at the store later told us she came in smiling, asking to use someone's phone to call the police. Smiling. But told police she was scared for her life and being abused. I could have been arrested without that video proof and lost my kids and job. My husband sent her to live with his mother, my mother-in-law, who is showering her with love and letting her have freedom. I told my husband she needed some punishment, like community service, and he refuses, saying her only punishment is being kicked out and he just wants to focus on her getting a job and getting her on her feet. Husband says I'm childish for not forgiving her quickly and letting it all go. He's upset I refuse to have my other daughters around her and not wanting a relationship with her. Am I the asshole, or am I overreacting for wanting her to have community service at a place where she volunteers with kids who have real life problems, and for not wanting the mother-daughter bond with her anymore? Side note, she's called me mom for years and has said I've loved her more and better than her birth mom. I've invested therapy and a lot of my time into her growth. Update, August 2nd, 2024. Still no action from police. Stepdaughter is still with mother-in-law but has a job now. I'm standing firm on not having a relationship with her and keeping my kids far away from her. Husband and I are separated. I'll update again if anything happens. For those questioning me being a bot or fake story, I added my socials to my Reddit homepage. I wish this was a fake story, but it's unfortunately my real life, going the opposite I planned it. I actually think the steps you're taking are perfectly reasonable and completely understandable, and you're definitely not overreacting and your husband's underreacting. And honestly, the fact that he just doesn't seem to understand the consequences and gravity of what happened is just... I'm going to leave it at disappointing. Thank God the cameras came in clutch. My only question, and this is kind of more of a general question, is how do you prevent this from happening with a child? Like, what parenting missteps could have possibly happened to lead them down this road? Or is it just a possibility that there is such a thing as a bad apple and there's really nothing you can do beyond... I don't know. Another one of my fears with being a parent in the future is just the fact alone of like, what if I fuck up and If a child ends up like this, is it on the parent or is there just something genuinely perhaps wrong with the child? I mean, on one hand, I don't think the stepmother is doing anything wrong. I mean, there's 4 other kids, they all seem to be doing well, they're not a matter of complaint, but the father seems pretty loosey-goosey and maybe his parenting style is to blame. But I hate even like talking about that because, you know, what if I make the same fuck up and I don't know. I'm kind of just rambling right now because it is a genuine fear of mine. I am not reading this user's name. And this is also from a suspended account. Am I overreacting for banning my friend's cousin from our Dungeons & Dragons session after he tried to insert an arranged marriage into the story? Am I choosing this one so I could help push a future episode of RPG horror stories and D&D horror stories? Yes. I host D&D group sessions for my friends almost every weekend. We're all in our 30s, but it's still one of our favorite activities. A few weeks ago, one of our friends decided to bring one of his cousins, also in his 30s, along, and as usual, we welcomed the new player with excitement. At first, he seemed like a really cool player, really helpful with ideas and engaging with the party. The first sessions were great. His backstory was that of a noble, and I decided to make last weekend's turn focus on it. Man, that was a mistake. You see, many of my players have partners in-game. We don't do any graphic scenes, but it's one of the ways I will allow my players to explore the world I create for them. I gave this new player a chance to get one in his backstory, and... things went south. When I asked him what his partner would like, he first said he wanted an elf girl that was small and 200 years old. I thought that was interesting, but... as he was describing her, things started to get weird. He said he wanted her to have small features, and so far that was okay. But then he started to use the word childlike. The reason I usually ask for such detailed descriptions is because one of our players is really talented at drawing and likes to draw most of the story's characters, which adds to the immersion. Well, as soon as the player who does the drawing heard the new player saying childlike, she immediately looked at me with concern. I asked the new player if he was serious, and he said he was, and continued the description like everything was fine. Eventually, we had to ask him to stop as we were not going to roll with that. He asked us why, and we said we weren't going to allow him to get a child bride in our role-playing game. He said she wasn't a child, just childlike. We said that wasn't allowed either. He got angry and said child brides were normal back then. I said not in my world. He said my campaign was clearly inspired by Germany. I have some cities that end with Berg. And told me the age of consent in Germany is 14, so I should stop being hateful. We had to end the session after that, awkwardly, but it was already close to the normal time I end the turns anyways. Fast forward to this weekend and other players have contacted me saying they weren't comfortable playing if this new player was around again. I said I totally understood and talked to the friend which the new player is a cousin with. He was super embarrassed and said he didn't think his cousin would ever do such a thing. He said his cousin claimed some months ago to be a Oh, no. Oh, no. 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 If you don't know what that word means, don't Google it. You'll be put on a list. But he didn't know what that meant. But now, after looking it up, he said that made sense. Anyway, his cousin, the new player, is not invited for our sessions anymore, and he told us himself that he'd look for a friendly group, since we were too hateful and Puritan for him. I feel like I did the right thing, but I still wonder if banning him straight away was the right move. Yes, it was. The last thing you need in your life is Kendrick Lamar making a diss track on your D&D group, good God. At this point, you may as well just invited Jared from Subway. Hell, with this kind of stuff, Michael Jackson would have even blushed. Hell, I'm sure if given the opportunities, this guy would have probably appeared in the flight logs. Hopefully that's enough wink winks and nudge nudges for you guys to understand kind of what's going on here for those of you who don't know what this wretched word means. Normally, the stories on D&D Horror Stories are more nuanced to this and involve game mechanics. Sometimes they do end up with shenanigans like this. Hell, one of them involves someone literally killing off the entire party because his Chick-fil-A order was wrong, and there's another one where a youth pastor who was playing D&D gave a very, 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 very detailed description of how he would lure children away from a town, and yeah, turns out he had experience with that. If you've never seen one of the D&D Horror Story subreddits, then you should definitely give it a look, because it's not just nerd shit, it's actually a lot of fun. And I stopped doing those episodes because people didn't really seem interested in them. But hopefully now that I've stuck this Trojan horse into an Am I Overreacting video, y'all will slowly see the light that is my favorite subreddit. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup. And you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.